Hello everyone, today's poem is 十五从军征 by 佚名. 佚名 means no name. This is a folk poem in the Han dynasty actually, and it was collected by the 乐府, the musical department of the Han government. And then it was given the music as well. So in the Han dynasty, this folk poem could be sung as well. Anyhow, nobody knows how to sing it today. In fact, 乐府 of the Han dynasty actually is the heritage of the Book of the Songs, to collect the folk songs as is one of the tasks. The other task for 乐府, the musical department, is to serve the national ceremonies, the ceremony to the ancestors, some big dinners for the emperors. So it has two major functions. After collecting and refining the folk songs, the musical department, 乐府, will give write the music for all those folk songs. So all the songs in the 乐府 could be sung. The music of the Han dynasty is totally different from the music for the Book of Songs. Because even in the Confucius time, Confucius said, 礼崩乐坏. 乐坏 means the music gone. The music for the Book of the Songs has gone. Anyhow, the spirit of the Book of the Songs was totally inherited by the Han dynasty. And after several hundred years of battles between different regions, and Han dynasty make the China reunited again. So the 乐府 is the official organization to collect the folk songs, and this song 十五从军行 is one of them. So from these very famous folk songs, it reflect the battles of the time, and this must impact almost everybody of the Han dynasty, because first of all, the folk song should be popular enough to be collected, and also the official who is responsible to collect the poems. No, he's a musician, also he's a intellectuals. He should choose from a lot of the folk songs, and the best of the breeds will be collected and given the music and recorded till today. So just a wild imagine, there's so many folk songs on the battles, and from the songs remain today of the Han dynasty, we can see the majority of the songs is about the departing. The wife and the husband parted. Could be in a peaceful time, so that they think of each other and complaining. And also could be in the wartime, the husband in the battlefield 1,000 miles away from the wife, and the wife also think of his husband. And there's another bunch of songs describe the war directly, which reflect in the Han dynasty the conquering wars to the north and to the west is overwhelming, and the people suffered a lot, and they complain or they hated the war most. Okay, let's have a look at the poem. I will read this song in the dialect of Shanxi province or 秦腔。十五从军征，一名。十五从军征，八十四得归。刀锋乡里人，家中有我谁？遥望四军家，松北中累累。兔从狗斗入，只从梁上飞。中庭生绿谷，颈上生绿葵。虫谷吃作饭，菜葵吃作羹。羹饭一时馊，不知一我谁。出门东行看，泪落沾我衣。Okay, that's it. If you have learned some of the modern Mandarins, there's no difficulties at all. Just like today's language. That's the folk songs. And that's from the oral language. And okay, let's have a very brief overview on the content. 十五从军征. So 从军征 means they was enrolled by the army. So in the age of 15s. So in the Han Dynasty, 15, 16 is the age of to be a adult, and you can have a families, and also you should answer the calls of the army, the enrollment. 八十使得归. So this is a lucky bird. He goes to the army to the 1,000 miles away to the battlefield, and he backed at the age of 80. 八十使得归. And this also reflects the real crucial regulations of the army. Only until you're dead, of course, you can go back. The carcass, not you, the carcass go back. Otherwise, you should serve the army till the age of 80. That's millions of one people could have this sort of the lucky. That could be the one of the reason this poem was selected by the musical department. Because there's so many poems or songs, the folk songs, about the battles. But this is specifically the most special case. And this one, who write this poem is a lucky bird, of course. 道逢乡里人. So this is like picture. On the way back to his hometown, his village, and when he go to the farming field and enter the village, he encountered with the folklore of his village, and he asked, 家中用我谁? I should read this in the Shanxi dialect, because in the current explanation, the official explanations, the meaning for this one is, who is in my home now? 家中, so this just like today's words, 有, if there is or if there had. 我谁? The official remark is this. Normally in the Mandarin, "a" is reading as "a", but in this poem, it should be read as "e", and it has no meanings by the official explanations. 谁 is who, but even in today's Shanxi dialect, I believe, which is quite similar to the Asian times. 家中用了谁in the Shanxi dialect is 我. So this makes the explanation, the official explanation, sounds reasonable. Otherwise, if the explanation is who is in my home, so it cannot be explained this way. 我谁遥望是君家，松柏冢累累. So in the picture, in the movie, the soldier in the village now, but still is a little way away from his home. But he see his home. So he's looked 遥望. He looked at his home. 松柏冢累累. So around his home, there are so many tombs, and the 松柏 is the trees to be planted on top of or among the tombs. So the trees is big already, and the tombs is a lot of tombs. So it's so many changes, because when he was living his home at the age of 15, the tree is not so big, and there's not so much tombs. 兔从狗窦入，雉从梁上飞. So away, still some distance away from his home, he saw the wild rabbit, went through the holes of his home, the wall surrounding his home. So normally that's for the dogs. Just imagine if there's a dog inside your house, the wild rabbit will not dare go into your house. So this implies there's no dog in your house right now. The wild rabbit, so that's he dare go into the house through the dog hole. 雉从梁上飞. 雉 is the wild bird with very long tails, and it's very colorful. Normally, this sort of the wild bird will not stay close with human or with villagers. So he saw the wild bird is over his house, the roof of his house. So that means the house is really wild, and there's no human activities for quite long times. 中庭生履鼓，井上生履葵. So just imagine the picture is going on. The movie is going on. The soldier getting to his house in the middle. The middle is a garden. 中庭 is the middle garden. He saw the plant of the cereal. And the cereal is not planted by the humans, by human intentions. It was by traveling. 履 is traveling, which means it's a wild plant. It by wind, by the luck, by randomly, the seed flow into the middle garden and start to grow. 井上生履葵, the same meaning. 井 is the well. It's also normally in the middle garden. 葵 is a sort of the veggies. It's not eat today, but in the Asian time, that's the most popular veggies for the Chinese. So these two sentences meaning the same things. The veggies, the cereals is traveling into his house randomly. This image actually, if you can see the image, you can just give the feeling the house was abandoned for quite a long time. There's no human activity in this house for quite a long time. 冲谷吃做饭，采葵吃做羹。冲谷 so after one long journey, the soldier, of course, so tired. Even in his home, he has so many things he want to do. So the people he want to see, and the feelings, of course. He talked to his neighborhood. He saw his house from far away, and now he's getting into his house. He has so many feelings, but he's so hungry and so tired. He has no, and maybe the change is too much. He has no feelings at all because he's living in the 15 and getting back in the 80s, more than 60 years. So he just answered the call of the hungry. Chong gu means he's making the food. 吃做饭 so he finally make his dishes. 采葵吃做羹 so he collected the veggies in the middle garden and make it as a soup. 羹 is a very, very thick soup. Just like the doufu. Doufu could be the texture is quite like the 羹. 羹饭一时熟 so for a while the dish is okay and the soup is okay. It's prepared. 不知一饿谁 I should read this in the Qin dialect. So in the official description or explanations, so he had all the food prepared. So all the environment, the house, the setup, the furnitures, the middle gardens remind his very old tradition. When the food is prepared, he will give the food to his family members, his mothers, his fathers, his sisters, his brothers. So that's the very, very basic instinct 60 years ago. And he will never forget that. So he just remind him of the tradition or his tradition. Anyhow, he looked around. There's nobody in the house. He don't know who he can give the food to and eat together. So in this sentence, when you're reading in the 陕西 dialect, 不知一饿谁 yi is another is a 通假字 is means gave or sent, and it's quite used quite often even in today's 陕西 dialect. 饿 is 我 so this fully perfectly explain the whole sentence if you read it in the 陕西 dialect. I don't know who my family members, which my family members I can give the food to. So now the sadness and feelings is coming up to the soldier's mind. So just imagine what he do right now. The food in his hand. He started eating. He's so hungry. No, he cannot eat with the feelings coming up. He just hold all the dishes in his hand and get out of the doors and looking eastward. Here I cannot give you the explanation. It could be looking to the east, could be for the sounding or make the full sentence's sake, or just a sounding, because the Chinese poem needs to be the sounding in the rhythm, in sort of the rhythms. So this could be only for the soundings, but this could be and has its real meanings. But we lost track of the daily life in the Han Dynasty a lot. So I don't know, and nobody explained this sentence, just as the very surface of these words. He get out of the door and looking to the east. At this moment, everything started to reflect it in his mind. He started crying. 泪落沾我衣, the teardrops fallen on my clothes. The greatest part of this poem is it's a very special story. At the age of 15, go out to the battlefield, join the army, and return home after 70 years serving in the army. He's not to say how anxious on the way he is, but this poem only picked up the very short time period when he approaching his village, and when he saw his house, and when he get into his house and cook the dinner for himself. So that's a very short period of time. And when he approaching his village, maybe outside of the village, he talked to his neighborhood, asking his family members the status of his families. Something not good. He heard it. Of course he heard it, but nothing reflected. And then, more approaching his house, he saw his house from a distance, and from the first glance, he knew the house was abandoned for quite a long time. It's becoming a wild house, abandoned house. But nothing reflected in his mind as well. Neither. And when he get into the house, he know that's 100% real. Only the wild grass cereal is planting in his garden, and nothing else, nobody and nothing else. And he still is in a very, very peaceful status, like the sentences and the words used in this poem. So everything is quite straightforward, simple, and in peace. So at this moment, most people think it's a little weird, but just imagine 70 years in the army. He could lost all the track of the family life, of the love between the family members, between his brother, sister, parents, or maybe sons, but apparently he doesn't have a son yet. So that all takes time to change his mind from the army's life, the way of the army's life, to warm up his mind, to make him adapt to the family now. That takes time, 70 years, and especially he's in the age of 80s. That's very natural and real, especially when you read the poem a second time, when you read the poem in different age of your own life period. When you got a family, you spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes, read this poem again. You have a different feelings. So this act, for me, I think it's very, very real and simple and peaceful. And this reality and this conflict between such a huge change and on the surface so peaceful made this poem is with energy, with emotions. And also in a Chinese mind, that's the second thought of mine. I cannot feel that in my first reading of this poem. In a Chinese mind, the most important things for a man, not for the women, for the man, is to help the family survive, to help the family's blood last to the next generation. And from this poem, we can see this family would distinguished after this 80 years old man died. Suppose he has a lot of brothers. Normally in a classic Chinese families, the brothers is not all in the direct blood. The cousins is also blood living in the same house. So in the Tang poem, you can see in the title, the poet is for who and who. The name is the family name member, family name plus a number. That number is the order of that person in his big family. You can see 1920 something. That's quite normal because all these brothers is not always the direct blood brothers. They are cousins. So all the cousins counted together, living in the same house. And let's look back at this poem again. With cousins, even a small family at least normally has 10 brothers. Or if the big families, far more beyond 10 brothers or young men. And from the reality, from this poem, all this man has gone. So you can see how this war is made miserable to the average people. All the young people died in the battlefield, but this lucky bird. Anyhow, even he was the lucky bird in 1 million people, his family is just like the other family. The young people all died, and this blood well distinguished quite well, very soon. That's the most sadness for a Chinese man, especially in the class Asian China. And it can be equal to a very serious crime if you don't help the family to make the blood last, to have a son, that's the thing for a man you should do. It's a serious crime in a Chinese mind in the Asian China. So a third thought, you can see this poem describe the very normal families, normal life. And it actually complain or condemn the war to the utmost level, because the war make the poet, the soldier, a biggest crime for his family. So the poem in the surface in such peaceful way, but when you read it again and read it years after years, and you will have a different taste, and you have a different feelings. Okay, that's for this poem. Normally, the song of the Han Dynasty, or the song from the musical department, 乐府, was not so take on by the average people, but actually the pieces or some of the very famous words actually is known by almost by everybody, and the spirit is fundamental because the Book of Songs is a little far from of the people's words or language, but you can see from this Han poem, it's the heritage, direct heritage to the Book of Songs, but with the language and words everybody knows even till today. So it was the best heritage of the Book of Songs, and also in the Han Dynasty, the true poetry was praised a lot, and gradually the true poetry became one of the fundamental spirits of the Chinese literature, which means you can mark your name under the poem, and also you can focus on more personal feelings. Because in the 乐府is all the folk songs, there's no poet name. There reflects the grass-rooted people, the average people's life. So it's nothing special. But in the Han Dynasty, the heritage from the true poetry, you can write down your name if you are a very famous poet, and you express your own personal feelings, noble feelings, intellectual feelings. That's the modern poetry came from. The Song, the Tang poetry came from, because in the Tang Dynasty, the poem is all by the intellectuals, the scholars, not by the average people. So only in the Han Dynasty, we have both. We have the very direct heritage from the Book of the Songs, but also the Han people made the spirit of true poetry as equivalent important to the Book of Songs. So these two comes together, make the fundamental spirits of the Chinese literacy. Okay, the Han poems is quite funny and very simple and very deep. I like to read it. I hope you can enjoy that as well. Okay, bye-bye.